I counted 16 types of toxic D&D players over the 20 years I've been playing D&D. I sorted them into 5 families that go from annoying to please just go home, and today I'm giving them to you along with both player and DM tips to fix those behaviors for good. Just before we start, the word toxic is quite intense, so I just want to make sure to say that these apply to behaviors and not necessarily people. Almost everyone has done at least a soft version of one of these, me included, so please don't panic if you spot yourself. Alright, so family number 1 is a bit sneaky, because these players don't really feel toxic at first. They show up, roll when it's their turn, and let everyone else carry the table. So this whole first family is the absent family, and it regroups players who stopped putting fun into the game. There are 4 of them, and after I list them, I will tell you what to do to handle them more efficiently. Number 1 is the flake. Everybody cancels sometimes. Maybe your kid got sick, or you had an emergency at work or in life, so the game gets cancelled. And that's 100% normal, and also not what I'm talking about here. The flake is the person for whom cancelling is the default. Everyone waits for them, and 20 minutes after the agreed upon starting time, the DM gets a text that says, "Sorry, I forgot to level up, I can't find my character sheet, my alarm clock didn't go off," etc. Missing a session once in a while will happen, but if it's the pattern, it's the flake. But type number 2 is worse, because they do show up, but just physically. I decided to call them the phone goblin. I think a lot of you guys can probably relate. Say you just rolled initiative, it's their turn in combat. The DM calls out their name, and nothing happens. So they say it again, and they get a, "Oh wait, sorry, what's happening? What can I do?" type of answer. And now they need to re-explain the exact situation everyone else at the table has been focused on for the last 5 minutes. The worst ones might even have an earbud in, and might even be half watching something. These guys might be sitting there, but they're not in the game. And in my experience, it's even more common and harder to fix when you play online. But being on the phone or a different browser tab is not the only way to check out. Some people even do it while staying in character. Number 3 is the lone wolf. Just before you jump in the comment section, I'm not saying every single loner character is bad. A mysterious shy ranger can be great, for example. I'm talking about players who just won't engage with anyone. Maybe the party makes a plan and they decide to wander off instead. And the result is the DM ends up running 2 games at once. One for the group and one for the guy who decided to go shopping for boots on the other side of town while everyone else watches. The red flag to watch for here is consistency. Splitting once in a while might lead to a cool moment the entire table enjoys, but every single session just means you're playing a collaborative game in solo mode. Number 4 is the Joker, and some of you might disagree with this one, but it's my personal pet peeve, so please just give me a chance to explain. Say you're playing through some kind of big emotional moment, like maybe an important NPC died or something, and that guy comes in and drops a silly joke or what's supposed to be a very clever one-liner, which kills the moment immediately. I'm not anti-comedy. I think funny is cool, but if the timing is wrong and it's systematic, you remove the possibility of depth from the game, which sucks because exploring different atmosphere is what I personally enjoy the most about TTRPGs. When I started making this video, I kept going back to this idea that ties these 4 types together. Have you ever been in a group project in school or at work, it doesn't matter, and realized, damn, this guy has just been carried. He would probably act way different if he was doing this alone. I think the same thing tends to happen at the D&D table. When you have a group of, say, 4 people doing the work and the spotlight isn't on you, it can be quite tempting to switch your brain off and just wait for the other players to play for you. It's a bit weird since this is a game, so you're kind of supposed to want to have fun, but I believe it works in a very similar way. So here's how you fix it. If you're a DM and encounter a phone goblin in the wild, maybe you just ask politely at the start of the session for everyone to put their phone on Do Not Disturb. Or even better, show how much of a leader you are and put your phone in a little box away from the table. You could always object that there might be an emergency, and my answer to that is just use common sense. What do you do when you go to the movies? And in any case, if one of your relatives is about to give birth, for example, maybe you shouldn't be playing D&D in the first place anyway. For lone wolves, have a conversation with them. them and help them understand the collective nature of the game. Maybe they're beginners and they took "you can do anything you want" a bit too literally. Giving players a screen time budget can work well too. Maybe everyone can have 8 minutes focused on their character every session. As the DM, you are responsible for the pacing of the game. Don't forget, you can pause the action, jump to another scene, and have the environment intervene to gently help people come back together as a group. Also, help them by encouraging several players to share common goals. This is easier to do at the start of the game, but depending on what happens, you can add new objectives as the campaign progresses. The flake is easy. Just set a 24-hour rule for everyone. You need to confirm attendance ahead of time. Communication stays important. Again, common sense is your friend, but having an official deadline works wonders. For the Joker, as the DM, you need to create spaces where comedy happens naturally and adds something to the game. Maybe it's a fun NPC or a scene that lends itself to humor. Give these guys occasions to be funny that benefit the entire table, and have a chat with them about the more intense moments. If you're a player, everything is simpler. Just remember the social contract you agreed to when you decided to play with other people. Having a rough week, having ADHD, etc. are not toxic traits. That's not what I'm saying at all, obviously. Everyone is different and everyone has bad days. These behaviors only become problematic if they're systematic and you keep doing them no matter what without realizing you're impacting the experience of the other people around. By the way, before we move on to the next family of toxic D&D player types, I would like to make a deal with you. Please hit subscribe. It's free and it makes me more powerful, which is always nice. And in exchange, I will grant you Warlock powers in the form of better and better videos. Alright, so the first family was composed of people who gave too little to the rest of the table. And the second one has the opposite problem. They give too much of one thing, which is themselves. Number 5 is the Spotlight Hog. These guys can't stop themselves and are in every single scene. They answer for the whole party before anyone else can speak. They want to be the ones picking the lock, even if the rogue is better at it, etc. And yeah, it's annoying, but it's also kind of sad, because the Spotlight Hog has all the ingredients needed to make an amazing D&D player. They're enthusiastic, invested, they love the game, etc. But all of this is just pointed in the wrong direction, aka themselves. Don't worry, just like before, we'll just fix everything in a second. Number 6 is the main character. It's a different kind of flavor. The Spotlight Hog is all about playing. They're too much during the session, but the main character is too much before the game actually starts. They have an extremely long backstory they need the DM to read, and because they've read lots of books, etc., they just want to be the main focus of the story. Again, I'm not saying people who do this are bad people. I've done it before, actually. It starts when you get so excited about the game, and maybe you can't play as often as you would like. So you spend lots of time on your character in between sessions, and one thing leads to another, and you become the main character. I decided to call number 7 the backseat DM. It tends to happen to DMs who finally get to play for once. Yes, it can happen, I swear. This person is usually an experienced player or DM who knows the rules, etc., and just can't stop trying to run the game even though they're on the other side of the screen. They will correct the DM on rules, lore, pacing, and the problem is they almost always mean well. They don't want to be annoying, but to help the game run smoothly. And I'm not saying it's not cool to help a beginner DM if they ask, or to have suggestions to help create a cool world. But if you're a player, you should be playing, and intervening makes the DM's job harder than it needs to be. To solve the issues in this family, the DM needs to realize that they have a unique role and use it. Don't become a tyrant, but understand that you control the spotlight and that doing so effectively makes the game better for literally everyone, including yourself. Don't argue with the Spotlight Hog type. Instead, just turn to a quieter player and ask them what they do. Keep a focus rotation log, and each time you prep, try to include an element that focuses on one different player every time. And for the backseat DM, I think the most efficient way to handle them is to give a role to that energy they have. Because a role goes with boundaries, so maybe make them the official rules person. Then you tell them and ask them questions from time to time. Knowing they have this official position might be all you need to help them stay in their player's shoes the rest of the time. And before we move on to family number 3, I need to tell you about the sponsor of today's video. Basic Fun is launching Questers, which is a line of D&D toys specifically designed for kids. If I trust my analytics, most of you aren't kids, but a lot of you are millennials like me and might have young children asking questions about what's the deal with these weird books you're playing with. I know my daughter is certainly wondering what this is all about. These toys can be a great way to share your passion with them. There are 3 collectible scales: creatures, adventurers, of course, monsters. They all have interchangeable parts, so kids can create their dream characters and start exercising those creativity muscles before maybe someday joining you at the table. They even come with a D20 and a short story kids can use to go on their first adventures. The D20s are regular dice, so I'm sure you can even use this as an excuse to buy one for yourself if you really need that. I really like that it meets the kids where they are and allows you to explain your hobby to them. I'm a big believer in communication, as this video hopefully demonstrates, and being able to talk with your kids and go on adventures with them with age-appropriate toys is really cool. They're available at Target and Amazon starting now, so just check out the link in the description. Alright, so family number 3 now. And to start, tell me, does this sound familiar? You're 3 hours into a session, and the story is finally moving at a decent pace. And then someone stops everything to argue about whether they can actually do the thing everyone is trying to do. The players in this family all have something in common. Somewhere along the way in their gaming journey, they went from playing a cooperative game to entering a courtroom. Toxic player type number 8 is extremely famous. The rules lawyer. The fighter is about to do something heroic. Stakes are high. There is epic music and everything. And then someone goes, actually, rules is written, you can't do that. And everything stops, and it's let's reread the rules time. It sucks, but playing with a rules expert can also be really cool. Rules help create trust because they're objective, so mastering them is very useful. But the toxic version of the rules lawyer tends to be aggressive. Maybe they roll their eyes when the DM makes a mistake. Maybe they only intervene when the rules benefit them, or try to win against the DM by finding weird exploits. Attitude is very important here. Number 9 is the metagamer. It's the player who meets a very friendly innkeeper, but acts all suspicious just because in real life they know the DM, and I heard them say innkeepers are always too vanilla, for example. The problem is that it makes it harder to stay immersed in the game world because the outside world keeps showing up, and it makes the difference between what the player knows and what their character knows stand out even more. Toxic player type number 10 is the min-maxer, but before you jump at my throat in the comment section, just hear me out, because I think this one is often misunderstood. Building a powerful, optimized character is not toxic in itself. Wanting to roll high is cool. Loving damage is cool. Building spreadsheets is cool. Kinda, I think. I hope. And a very powerful character can be a lot of fun to roleplay. All of these are true. The only time it becomes toxic is when the player tries to turn min-maxing into a table policy. For example, they will look at the flavorful, slightly suboptimal build of their neighbor and roll their eyes. They will sigh if you don't use the best spell or action in combat. Basically, my point is some people might love optimization so much that they try to convince people who might not care as much about it that they're playing the game wrong. And that can be annoying. Here's how you fix these issues. For the rules lawyer, just have a chat with them after the session. The same give them a roll thing we discussed can work very well. For the metagamers, stay inside the game. If they just accuse the innkeeper of being a vampire, maybe the innkeeper goes, "What are you talking about?" It might or might not be true, but staying in the game at least creates opportunities for roleplay. And then, after the session, talk with them and try to show them that this can affect the experience of the other players. For the min-maxer, I know when you mention min-maxing, you often hear people say, "But my DM forces me to min-max, otherwise I'll die." So just make sure everyone around the table shares expectations here. A table of pure min-maxers with a DM who wants to challenge them can be awesome to play at. The problem happens when different people expect different things, and you create some kind of asymmetry, which ends up being annoying for people on both sides of the spectrum. Use session 0 to make sure everyone has aligned expectations. And in any case, don't tell people to not min-max, and just Build situations that reward teamwork so the min-maxed character can help the less optimized builds to shine. The fourth family is the Saboteurs. It's composed of people who tend to view D&D as some kind of weird competitive thing instead of the collaborative game it was designed to be. And it all starts in a very extreme way. Toxic player type number 11 is the PvP player. They can pick fights with other PCs, or maybe just test the paladin's morals to see when they will break. And then in Act 3, they will betray the whole group because, it's dramatic. Of course, it gets annoying quickly, so when the table complains, they use the "that's what my character would do" excuse. I'm not saying having tensions within the party can't be cool, but there is a big difference between a conflict everyone signed up for and one person having fun at for other people's expense. And there's one specific flavor of this that deserves its own number. Toxic player number 12 is the party thief. They steal from the party. They might not directly use sleight of hand against another player, though, Sometimes they just take the loot before it's split or skim a little gold off the top. And when people get annoyed, they just go, "Oh well, sorry for just roleplaying my kleptomania character." This can lead to balancing problems if they take powerful magic items that were supposed to help other players, and just creates tension and hurts cohesion. But sometimes the target of the saboteur is not the rest of the party. Toxic player number 13 is the murder hobo. These guys are famous. They walk into a peaceful town, and just because they were told you can do anything you want in a role-playing game, they decide to attack and kill NPCs for fun, basically. It can be cool in very specific circumstances. The thing that comes to mind is a table of first-time players that all agree this can be a fun thing, including the DM, because they get to explore that newfound freedom this type of game allows. But 9 times out of 10, it just prevents the story from happening and derails the game. Number 14 does not kill anyone for pleasure, but can be very problematic too. It's the cheater. They always roll a 19 when the dice falls on the floor, and they swear it counts, or they forget to write down the damage they took, or to count their spell slots. What I find very annoying is that on top of creating a suspicious atmosphere at the table, it just misses what the point of the game is. Failing a roll is not bad. Like, you can't win at D&D. And when you do this, you just implicitly tell the people you play with that you won't play the same game they're playing. The DM can help fix those issues with proper communication once again, but since these tend to impact the rest of the table more, I actually believe the most efficient solutions come from the other players. Maybe don't transform your session into a courtroom, but if one of the other players is particularly close to the person with the annoying behavior, have them talk to them in between games, and explain that they are the emissary sent by the table, but that everyone feels like this and would love if a solution could be found. And don't be too harsh. Quite often, these people are just experiencing that freedom high I mentioned and don't realize these are actually annoying. Family 5 is the worst, and I'm gonna keep it short because it kind of speaks for itself. There are 2 types in it: the creep and the bully. Just don't be those guys. The creep pushes romantic or intimate scenes onto someone who never agreed to it, and the bully constantly shames or mocks other players for their character decisions, before saying it's just their sense of humor. And yeah, nobody likes those guys. Just don't. This is a game, it needs to be fun, and fun kinda requires not being harassed. There are 2 tools you've probably heard of that can help fix those. The first one is the X card. Everyone gets one, and when you feel uncomfortable, you just raise it and tap out of the scene without having to give a justification. The second one is lines and veils, where you agree before the game even starts on what will remain off the table, the lines, and what can happen off screen, so to speak, the veils. For example, maybe you decide that intimate scenes will just fade to black. These 2 tools won't replace a proper session 0, which will help avoid most of these issues and has many other advantages, but they can help handle an emergency. Also, if a creep or a bully ignores these and won't change their behavior even after you told them that they should stop, don't hesitate to stop playing with them. There are enough bad things happening in the world without you having to put up with them in your precious free time. Most of the 16 types we just covered are not bad people, but behaviors that can emerge over a campaign. Sometimes they happen because players are too excited about the freedom and possibilities. Sometimes it's because the person is having a bad day or is just a beginner. I'm not saying if your character ever killed an innkeeper, you're a bad person and should never play again. Like, not at all. I started playing when I was 9, and I have definitely stolen from party members, checked my phone, and cancelled sessions last minute, for example. Every type can basically be traced back to 2 mistakes. Some people stop putting fun in, and others take fun out. And these are just 16 ways to do one of these things. D&D and other TTRPGs are complex games that rely on several people cooperating and helping each other to have fun. And that complexity means sometimes things don't go as planned, and even a well-intentioned player can slip and behave in a way that can disrupt the balance that's required for everything to go smoothly. Knowing about these and trying to be honest about your own habits before someone else asks you to stop is the most elegant and least annoying experience for everyone involved. So maybe run a quick self-audit, and if someone at your table keeps doing one of these things, try to have an open conversation with them. Or maybe share this video in your Discord. Both help support the channel and can lead to better games, so what's not to like? Not doing these makes you not toxic, which is nice, but maybe you want to become one of these players people remember years later and refuse to play without. If that's the case, click on this video next and I will show you the 7 deadly sins of D&D roleplay to help you become a roleplay monster.